Hello, and welcome to our second workshop for Launch Pad 2021. Today we had Dan Babcock, the founder of Modern Marketing Commerce and the founder of Launch Pad, now 12 years running, speak with the BOCES New Visions class. He spoke about entrepreneurship, his experience as an entrepreneur, and ideation. He talked with the students about their ideas, and he answered many of their questions about entrepreneurship. Because some of the student ideas for the competition are sensitive, I have edited those parts of the video out. So fair warning, the flow of the video is a little sporadic, but feel free to pay attention to the specific questions being asked. And I encourage you all to talk about your ideas with your advisor and your mentor and the other students around you to flush out your idea. Everybody can contribute something to you. So please feel free to not keep it all in here and really flush it out in the open with other people who can potentially see problems before you even see them. Without further ado, Dan Babcock.
So I'll just do a quick thank you, Julie, or, based on your class and your support and what we started now, this is 12 years ago. I don't know if you realize that or not, but 12 years ago. Yeah.
I said, how old my oldest kid? I said,
I was going to say it actually parallels your family history, and so entrepreneurship, if you guys think about it at your age and where you are today, you're probably not realizing this, but you're in the best opportunity ever to determine your own future. And if you think about the history of our country, it's actually something that has been driven by entrepreneurship, new ideas, looking at the old ways of doing things and saying, I can do it better. We are now way past what was born in the 70s and 80s around computers and technology, and the 90s and 2000s with the internet. Those are now every day. You're going to school today. I'm talking to you from Florida. You guys are in Binghamton. But it's a really, really small world now because of the internet and because of technology. And the world is looking for great ideas. And those great ideas are coming in many cases from people your age. They're not coming from people my age. In many ways, they're coming from people who have gone to high school. Maybe they've gone to college. Maybe they haven't gone to college, but they see a need that they feel is something that's been unmet, and they want to solve that problem. So I happen to have paralleled a little bit of the DNA that we're talking about when I was young. As a matter of fact, this is my, when I was I think I was probably in 5th or 6th grade. That's my lemonade stand sign right there from my mom actually found out when she was moving. I would have a lemonade stand in the summer. I would literally go and work really hard, paint fences, etc. But my heroes weren't on the sports field. When I would look at the sports people that went to my school, I went to the same local high schools as you guys do. I went to UE. My kids went to UE. What I would do is I would look at the people who ran the local businesses, the Akel family who ran the giant supermarkets that are now Weiss. I would look at them and want to be them because they were able to not only have a great life, but they were also able to take their ideas and, be able to put those into execution and be able to control their own destiny. So one of the cool things about entrepreneurship and talking about building a business or building a product or building something from an idea is it actually doesn't have a formula. There's no rules. So you guys right now, some of you have really talented capabilities in math, or maybe you're really good at engineering, or maybe you're like me, not even in the top half of the class, not really good at math, not really good at science, never took chemistry, wasn't really a gifted student. But I could create something in my mind, and I had enough energy level to actually go get it done by bringing other people with those gifts with me. So I believe the really neat fundamentals of entrepreneurship, and something you have to remember, is you can start where you are. You can start with the gifts that you have. Maybe you're really good at design, or maybe you're really good at leadership, or maybe you're really good at math, or maybe you're really good at programming, or maybe you're a really good gamer, or maybe you're really good at writing. Any of the gifts that you have, you can then take those gifts, start to build a team around you that allows other people's gifts to join into your vision, and that's called culture. And so the entrepreneur of today is building a culture of like-minded people who have different gifts and pulling them together into one cohesive team. And that team is then driven to go change the world. And that change could happen with an app, on your iPhone. It could happen with some type of a cloud-based tool. It could happen by building social strategies like the gaming industry is doing. It could happen with new medical ideas for helping people who used to go to the hospital or used to go to their local doctor, who now can get healthcare at their home. It can happen in transportation. It could happen in the way that we, look at our environment and all the things that are going on in terms of new ways of looking at, diesel fuel or gasoline versus batteries, solar versus general energy. It could look in many different ways, different over the next 10 years. And those ideas can actually come from you literally in the classroom that you're in today, because we've got a program called Launch Pad, which, Michael's running, our team at Modern Marketing and Commerce are running and sponsoring. Julie and your class is leading every year. She always has a winner. She always has a category winner or an overall winner. And you guys now have an opportunity to build a product, build a service, or build something that no one's ever thought about. So my history is starting right out of college. I started my company with $7,500. First couple of years weren't very good. We weren't making any money. It was discouraging. A lot of people thought I should just go get a job. But 34 years later, it worked out. And we have multiple companies in the healthcare business, in the building products business. And we're excited every day to go to work and put people in like-minded roles. And it's something that I couldn't imagine taking a different journey. So, Michael, let's go through the questions in terms of, some of the thoughts you have in terms of structuring the meeting so it's convenient. But I want you guys to kind of come back to me, if you can, with some of the ideas you may be thinking of for Launchpad. And then we can talk about, because the whole key to success in Launchpad, but also in real life business, is the idea. And then the second key is the execution of the idea. Lots of great ideas out there that don't get executed. So we're here to help you create an idea, and then from there, help you build out the framework to execute the idea.
All right, thanks, Dan. So what he was going into a couple minutes ago with the ideation part. So Launchpad, for however long it's been, I've only been a part of it since 2018, but what I've seen, at the final competition, the new ideas that students are able to come up with are extraordinary. And a lot of the times you'll see students who have, ideas that aren't, fully fleshed out, or an idea that they thought, maybe this is profitable, but it's not necessarily something that they're passionate about. And we thought over the past couple of years to move towards a direction of focusing on the idea itself and having a portion dedicated to ideation. Our logo / theme for this year's competition is one good idea, because all it takes is one good idea to change everything. So I know a lot of you might already have your ideas for the competition, but a lot of the people maybe here and who will be watching this recording are still coming up with their ideas. So it's always good to focus on what you're trying to achieve, what your goals are, etc. I actually came up with my idea, kind of silly, by coming up with a bucket list of all the things I wanted to do before I graduate, or at least before I don't get a chance to do them. And one of those things was putting on a murder mystery, and it seemed silly at the time, but you can really make a business out of anything. So yeah, I wanted a chance to get to hear from you guys. So if you have a question, please feel free to write it in the chat. And I'd love to talk about everybody's, ideas, which will probably not be recorded. I won't show that to everybody, but
I appreciate that. Thank you.
no problem. Yeah, I'd love to have Dan give you some professional feedback on what you guys are thinking.
And also, I think to add to that, Michael, I think we're willing to also help you. We no longer have to worry about your mentor or your machining company or your idea of engineering. It doesn't have to be in the local market. We can pull people in from anywhere to help you. So if you have an idea, let's just start with one and we'll role play through it. And it'll give you a sense of how big of an opportunity and how quickly you can meld a team. So why doesn't somebody have just throw it at us and let's see if we can do it together as a simulation.
Yeah, so before we move on, which I'll be really quick because there's a lot of ideas popping up in the chat. With apps, it can be really confusing. People can often be a little afraid of pursuing that because not many people who are in high school understand fully like how to make an app, etc. And the thing is, we have a whole category in Launchpad dedicated to apps. And that's because you don't need to necessarily create the app yourself. All you have to do is really have a vision and, like Dan said, fully flesh out your idea and the purpose of it. And of course, we have a couple people who we've been working with over the years who know apps and will able to talk with you about how to fully create the idea that you have. However, just because you don't know exactly how to implement it, like exactly how to create your app, doesn't mean you can't research it, etc. And come up with just how to simple things instead of just feeling afraid of pursuing it.
Right.
Yeah.
We had them use Wix in the past, and I've even had some students years ago, before they were using Wix, to do like a generic app interface, just for an idea, more or less, just for prototyping purposes. But I've even had some like go through and just hyperlink PowerPoints just for the idea and the concept of, hey, this is how it would look if it were to evolve.
Yeah,
right.
Visuals have always been helpful in that department. And also, I think 2 years ago we had a winner, Ariana Boyce. She competed with the idea of an app, Talk Tourist Travel. And after the competition, she had no idea how to develop apps, but she worked with one of our judges, James Dutcher, in the incubator. And they were able to actually work with a team and create a functioning prototype of the app, which was pretty amazing to see. Before we hop to our next idea, we did get a general question. What if we had an idea, but it only benefits a specific group of people?
Right, but a niche product is always something that's going to be needed, because when you think about it geographically in Binghamton, you probably have a tough time creating a restaurant or creating something where you have to have foot traffic or walk in or sit down. I agree. It's going to be really tough. The idea that in your lifetime, you will have seen the beginning and ends of things like malls or things like, areas like that type of retail experience. But what you haven't seen is things that might pop up or, still come to Binghamton, but not be there 24/7. Maybe they only come infrequently, but when they come, everyone wants to go see, the best experience. So I think the market for niche products is actually going to explode. It's going to become bigger, because a niche, let's say there's 200 major markets in America. Maybe there's only 200 people per market, but if you aggregate all of those markets up, that's a huge market. So don't think so much small, think in terms of aggregation. And then if you start to think globally, it's even bigger. So there's no such thing as small in my opinion today.
Yeah, I agree. Also, another general question, if you wanted to talk about that before we circle back to ideas. How do you know if a market exists for your product if there is no competition?
Right. Well, it's called a startup. It's a green field. It's the ability to start something no one else has done. Bezos, who just announced his retirement yesterday from Amazon, he didn't start off to build a better bookstore. He started off to build a better experience for shopping. And when you think about that, that's a huge difference because he was selling books. So he could have just said, I want to build a better bookstore, which is where most people go. But he said, no, I want to build a different experience. And it was a brand new green field. Those are the things that are going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of capital or a lot of money and spending your time and effort and your team's vision and culture, but they have the biggest outcomes. The green fields are the highest risk, but they're the biggest opportunities if you get in at the right time. And the big ideas that came since the year 1995 to 2010 or so, those big ideas that are now commonplace, right? All the things on the social media, all the things on the e-commerce and shopping, all those were really started with people who wanted to change the world. They wanted to change the way that we do it today. It was a contrarian view. I love that.
Also, these next couple questions are really good questions. What keeps you inspired every day to keep working?
Yeah, I think it's kind of fun. It's a great question because I really don't know what else I'd be doing. I couldn't golf every day. I get up in the morning. I like to do some things that are personal, like, my faith and I like to read and I like to do my exercise. But outside of that, work to me is not a job. It's part of a community of people that I enjoy being with. I consider, for example, Mrs. Keenan to be part of my network, right? That I met Mrs. Keenan through work, right? But it's part of my social being, right? She and I are proud of the Scholastic Challenge and Launch Pad. Michael's part of that network. The 12 years ago, the people that were in the first year are now part of that network. So I don't really look at it like work. I look at it like part of an opportunity to take my gifts and apply them. That's really the key ingredient to an entrepreneur is I think most entrepreneurs don't look at it as a job. And what I would encourage you to realize is if you are in a job that you just really don't have aspirations around, it's up to you to make a change. And how do you do that? Well, one, don't go into debt so that you can build flexibility to your life. Two, be willing to change. I moved. I lived on the same road for 50 years. I moved. I decided to have a different view, a different mindset, a different lens. So be willing to change. Be willing to not get into debt where you have to do something to get yourself out of that. And then I think the other is to hang out with people with different gifts than yourselves. Get away from the people that you're always with because you understand how they think. Get with people that maybe you're not as comfortable with. If you're not social, go go work at a restaurant or go work at a convenience store where you have to be social. If you're too social and you're not disciplined, go focus on how to be a better disciplined thinker or strategist. Go work on skills that you don't have. These are all things that make the mundane go away. To me, when I wake up in the morning, I go, wow, I just wasted 8 hours sleeping. I can't believe I wasted 8 hours. What am I going to do to make up that 8 hours?
Yeah, that was a really good answer. There was a lot in there.
Thanks.
From Alexia, do you have your MBA? If so, do you recommend working for it? Or if so, do you recommend working for it in college?
Yeah. So I am not going to answer this the way that Mr. Mullen or Mrs. Keenan would want me to. I actually believe that education comes as a triangle. I could never grasp memorization and formal learning in a way that I could literally study all day long, go to take the test, and my brain would like evaporate. So my way of learning wasn't applied to the way that the SAT or the way that the people that were in the advanced classes, somehow they learned that way. So you have to recognize that, in my opinion, it's a triangle. I did go to college. I did finish a 4-year degree, but I learned differently. So I didn't focus on the grades, and I was blessed that my parents weren't, pounding me on my grades. My SAT scores were not very high, but I had a gift of a lot of energy and the ability to have EQ, emotional capabilities to look at people emotionally and connect in a culture. So I would say if your ability to get your MBA is something that motivates you to a career, go do it. If your ability is recognize that you're not as good at school, start your focus while still getting the minimum opportunity, whether it's a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree or a high school degree, but recognize that the world of tomorrow, especially with everything moving to online, is not nearly as rigid as to the degree requirements as it was. There are programmers right now. If you're a gifted programmer, you can start working today. You can literally start programming today. And I have been blessed to meet some of these people that are the prodigy programmers for big tech companies. Some of them are 18 years old. You guys know the gamers, right? The people that are out there looking at the gaming world, they're not 50 years old. They're your age. So I would just encourage you, but you got to get serious, right? You got to look at your behaviors. Everyone's focusing on, partying or maybe being, maybe being that wise guy who doesn't follow the rules. The reality is you can do that, but that typically is going to put you outside the ability to meet the right people to be successful. I would focus on having a great ethical and moral foundation, and then meeting the right people, still having a great time, but doing it in a way that allows you to be part of a community that can accelerate to your vision.
Thank you.
Julie, anything is Julie breaking in? I see her hand on the mute button.
I'm not. I'm here.
You're not. Anything else as we start to wrap up? I'm more than willing to answer specifics or go into it from the overall. You guys have been great. Your questions and everything are amazing. Do you believe personality tests? The personality test that Kevin Blake participates in. He's one of my best friends. He's been with me forever since 11th or 12th grade. We've been partners in lots of businesses together. We talk every week. I do actually believe that your personality profile, you need to be aware of your weaknesses, which is the benefit of, most of you know your strengths. I have to constantly be aware of my weaknesses, because when I talk to you and want to partner with you, I have to be aware of how you learn and how you behave, so that I don't look at the world only through my set of lens. It's very similar to your prescription if you wear glasses. If I take my glasses and put them on you, or you put your glasses on me, we're probably not going to see 2020. So a personality profile allows you to build that ability to see through somebody else's set of somebody else's lens. It's actually very valuable. Jim just asked about debt from college. I popped up really quick, but it went away. What I would say is it's a tough subject, right? Because America's morphing, I think, looking at debt as the reason why college accessibility isn't there. I'm not going to go there. What I'm going to say is, if you choose to take on debt to go to college and you're dead serious, you're going to pay that debt back because you're going to get the right outcomes. What I would say is you need to find the school that works for you to build a network, and build a successful outcome. Cost is not as important as having that right success. I went to Broome Community College, which is now SUNY Broome. I met my wife there. I had a great experience. I actually learned more at Broome than I probably did at RIT, which was a lot more money. But I would say college and picking the right education foundation, you should be very specific, not as to the football team or the partying, but as to what it does for you and your network. And don't be embarrassed to not follow the crowd. There's nothing wrong with a 2-year degree from Broome and then moving on from there.
I totally agree with that. I went to SUNY Broome as well, and I learned way more there than probably I did at Binghamton.
And to Mr. Mullen's point, you don't walk out of there with a lot of debt. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? You got, X debt. You can earn that mostly working at Chuck E. Cheese if you want. So, which is where I worked. All right, what's next?
So there's 2 more really good questions earlier in the chat, and then I guess we'll start to wrap it up. So James asked, what are some of your tips for time management for pursuing entrepreneurial activities while also going to college?
Yeah, so time management's a funny thing, and I'm not picking on college and the stress of going to college. I would say we as Americans have, and people who live in this country have waste more time than they ever dream of, right? If you spend if you look at your clock on your social media watch, how many hours do you spend staring at this thing? It is unbelievable if you spent the same amount of time fixing bad behavior or working on your new idea. It is stunning how many hours. I think the average person, I don't even want to know, I think it's over 10 hours a week. So what I would say is this, we have more time than ever to do what you're passionate about. What I find in time management, though, is you do have to have the hardest word in the English dictionary is no. You have to be able to say no. So I set a priority that if Julie calls, I say yes. Or Michael, if you call, I say yes. Or if Broome Taugabosi's teacher calls, I say yes. But lots of other ideas I say no to because I want to say yes to this. So time management's all about saying no, but then it's also about changing your behavior of what you think is important. I'm not even on social media. I set them up so that if something ever happened, I could execute on them, a story or something I would need to do so they're there, but I don't ever use them. I don't even know my passwords. I have no interest in learning what somebody else's likes are or trying to compare my likes to their likes. I think we've been given a far bigger task than people liking us. I think we can have a real impact in society, and that is all about passion and vision and culture, not so much time management.
Awesome. Last question. When networking, do you think it's better to stay in your local community where you have a presence, or go out and travel to start building connections nationally, especially for college students?
Yeah, I would say the answer is your DNA, your roots, you should never lose. And so Greater Binghamton are your roots, they're my roots. There's positives all around. There's also a hesitancy, and I think Julie knows this from our early days of growing up in the town. The town became too focused on Greater Binghamton. They didn't know what was going on around them. And I think we do need, and now with social media and with the ability to look at the internet and the ability to look at education outside of just upstate New York, I do think you should connect not only throughout the United States to people that you can have a relationship with and build businesses with or ideation with, but you should also build them internationally. There is a tremendous opportunity internationally moving forward. So I am a huge fan of looking in our community for everything it offers, but also making sure that you connect outside our community.
Awesome, I agree. Before we end off, I would love it if, Julie, you could tell us a little bit about the JA Summit and tell Dan about how you guys did, etc. I'm sure he's really excited to know.
Sure, yeah. So we, Dan, Junior Achievement of Central and Upstate New York, the group that we do the company program with in the fall, where the students run their own business for 3 months. they put together this Entrepreneurial Summit, and it was a 3-minute pitch. It was utilizing a template that they designed, the lean canvas, and they basically kind of crash coursed a business idea. Not designing like the prototype or anything, not getting the whole business plan. It was something that we did, and I'll be honest with you, because we were doing other things when this happened, we did it in a 2-hour time period in class. And I'm sure that the teams in Rochester probably worked on it a lot longer. Some of the companies that presented, some of these kids actually were doing their business, but we had four teams, and the team won. They won laptops that are sitting right over here on this table that I have to give them.
Wow.
From Ernst & Young, they're pretty excited. So they pitched it last week, and the designer dress idea, their team won. There was 4 of them. So they pitched the lean canvas. Some of them said they wanted a little bit more time to prep when I asked for feedback on it. Some of them were like, no, it was because we won it and we only put in a few hours worth of work for it. So I guess we're pretty satisfied with that. But they did. They had the Q&A from the judges, 3 or so minutes, 15 minutes for some cases on other teams. So they were not happy with that. But they did. They did great. It was something to try this year. And I'm like, well, just do this. See if it works. If you like the idea and you go with it, it can be your Launchpad idea. If you don't, pivot, steal some of the other people's ideas if you want. If you like those better, or try to pivot a little bit more. So.
Yeah, PwC is a great company. Matt Pirelli up there has been doing our finances for a long time. You guys should be proud of that. They're a great company. Ernst & Young, great company. Lots of super opportunities. When you talk about Rochester versus Binghamton, what you guys got to realize, and I'm going to plug Mrs. Keenan, you will remember her your whole life. There's very few, I don't remember all my teachers at UE, but I remember a couple. And you guys are very blessed to have her helping you realize what's out there. So you may not know it today in February 4th, 2021, but you're going to know it some February 4th out there. You should be very, very proud to have her as your teacher.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Michael, good job. We got through this unscripted. Mr. Mullen, thank you. And whatever you guys need, I am here, text, email, cell phone, whatever you guys need. We want to see this through in a virtual environment. It's going to be a little chaotic, but where there's chaos, there's opportunity. So go, go, go.
All right.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. See you guys. Thank you. Bye.